For the cheapest coins with fast delivery and quick customer support, check out my sponsor, Red Zone Coins, and use code SWIFT at checkout for 20% off.
So family, and today I'm coming back at you guys with another Madden 20 video on the channel, and in today's video we have another episode of the MUT Weekly Roundup for you guys, a series in which I go over all the latest news in Madden 21 Ultimate Team. We're going to start it off like we usually do by going over the Ultimate Legends that dropped in the past week, and then we're going to move on to talk about a couple of other MUT related topics. The first one is the fact that these Ultimate Legends were the final drop in Madden 20. I'm going to talk about why maybe EA decided to stop the Ultimate Legends, as well as what cards we can expect to get throughout the rest of Madden 20. And then at the end of the video, we're going to pivot and talk about Madden 21 a little bit, because EA did release quite a bit of gameplay news over the past week, and I think there's 4 major changes to the game, which you guys are really going to enjoy. So I'm going to talk about those 4 tweaks that EA is making to Madden 21 at the end of the video. Now, without further ado, if you guys have been enjoying this series on the channel, be sure to leave a like down below. As well, if you have any good video ideas, leave them down below in the comment section. I read basically every single comment, so I'll definitely be reading your suggestions down in there, and I'd really appreciate it if you guys have any good ideas that you leave them down below in the comment section. Now, without further ado, let's start it off by going over this past week's Ultimate Legends, and we're going to start it off with the LTD right here. So the LTD this past week is 99 overall Joe Klecko. He is pretty expensive, but I do actually like the stats on this card quite a bit. He's got 98 strength, 97 block shed, 98 power moves to go along with 84 speed and 90 acceleration, so you can easily get the block shed and the power move up to a 99, and he's gonna have some really good speed at the end position. In my opinion, he's probably one of the best ends in the game, if not the best end in the game right now. Maybe the only person that could be better than him is Bruce Smith, but Joe Klecko is really good, and in my opinion, this is definitely a W of a card. If he comes down in price to around 200,000 coins, I can see him being super worth it, because that high speed and high acceleration is just something you don't get with a lot of other defensive ends. And again, he's still going to have the elite tier strength, block shed, and power moves, which are pretty important at the end position. So I'd say this card actually is a W. I wish he wasn't the LTD. If he wasn't the LTD, he'd probably be a little bit cheaper, but really good stats, and I am a fan of this player. So the first set piece card we got this week is 99 overall Bobby Bell, who's selling at just under 300,000 coins. And as you guys can see, the stats on this card are much more equipped to play as a zone coverage linebacker rather than a pass rusher, and in my opinion, at this state of the game, I prefer having linebackers that can pass rush rather than linebackers that can cover and play in space. So 90 speed, 93 acceleration, 97 play rec is pretty good for a coverage linebacker, and as you guys can see, the main thing we're going to want to take a look at is going to be the zone coverage, and right now he's going to be sitting at 90 zones, so that's definitely pretty good if you want to play with him in coverage. But in my opinion, like I said, I'd prefer to probably just sub in a safety at the linebacker position if they're going to be in coverage. So Bobby Bell isn't going to be worth it, especially at 300k. He's just totally not worth it in my opinion. Now, the second Ultimate Legend we got this week is 99 overall Bo Jackson, who is basically a golden ticket. As you guys can see, he's selling for just about 500,000 coins, and when we compare the stats of these cards, they're literally identical, other than a couple of plus ones for the golden ticket 99 Bo. So if you do want to get basically a golden ticket, you can get this Bo Jackson. I believe his power up is going to be decently expensive. It's going to be pretty costly to power him up, but it is probably worth it, because once you do power him up, you're going to be able to put human joystick on him. Unfortunately, his base card right here only has 98 agility, so you can't put human joystick on his base, so you're going to actually have to power him up if you want him to become even better. I would probably recommend you use a power up pass on him. This card is crazy good, so Bo Jackson is definitely a W right here. I do like the 2 cards they released this week, the Bo Jackson and the Joe Klecko. Wasn't a huge fan of the Bobby Bell, but I would say it was a pretty solid release, definitely a W release for the final drop of the year. So now let's talk about why this was the final Ultimate Legend drop of the year. And if you guys did not know, like I said at the beginning of the video, there will not be any more Ultimate Legends coming out in Madden 20, so we have no content releasing on Saturday. And there's only one feasible explanation as to why this could be the case. In my opinion, I think EA could be releasing a different type of weekly promo on Saturdays, and that's essentially what I'm holding out hope for. I'm hoping that they do something like Summer Blockbuster, where they give current day players upgrades, because there's still plenty of current day cards that need upgrades. They could just use the exact same format as they do with Ultimate Legends right now, release an LTD, and release 2 set piece cards, but I think everyone would definitely be pretty happy if they use that exact same strategy. But instead of doing legends or players that are retired from the game, they could do stuff like current day cards, because there's still plenty of current day players that need upgrades. So just give 3 current day upgrades every single Saturday rather than doing legends, and I think that would definitely be a pretty big W in the community's eyes. Again, like I said, there's plenty of current day players that need upgrades. Aaron Rodgers, Jamal Adams, George Kittle, just to name a few, and there's plenty more than that. So that would definitely be a really cool promo if they decide to do something like that, and that's kind of what I'm holding out hope for, because it makes no sense why they would stop Ultimate Legends at this point in the year when there's still quite a few more weeks until the next game releases. So again, like I said, I'm hoping that they just use that as an opportunity, because now Saturday's freed up, so they can drop additional content then, which hopefully is going to be current day players, and that's what I'm holding out hope for. If they don't end up releasing anything, that's going to be definitely pretty unfortunate, because we'll be left with only power-up expansion players on Tuesday. Even though I think the power-up expansion cards have been pretty solid recently, I think we need something more than just content on Tuesday. So hopefully, like I said before, they end up releasing something like Summer Blockbusters every single Saturday, where they give current day players upgrades in the game, because there's definitely a need for current day upgrades, and now that they're stopping Ultimate Legends, they definitely have quite the opportunity to be able to release something like that every single Saturday. And again, one final reason why I think it could be Summer Blockbusters is because EA's really enjoyed releasing their cards in batches and kind of going slowly as they release the cards. So doing it every single Saturday and only having to release 3 cards a week would be right up in their alley, of not having to release tons of players at the same time and being able to spread out their content a little bit. So yeah, that's my opinion on why I don't think we're getting Ultimate Legends anymore. Next up, let's move on to talk a little bit about Madden 21, because there's 4 key gameplay adjustments which we have guaranteed information about, and I'm going to explain what those are as well as how they could affect the game. So let's hop into these 4 key gameplay adjustments. The first one I think is going to be liked by quite a few people, and that is going to be improvements to run defense. And EA's doing 2 major things in Madden 21 to improve run defense. The first one is going to be better reactions and pursuit in run defense. One major issue in this game is pursuit defenders and people that aren't your user take really terrible angles in the run game, and that causes them to get caught up on blocks and just not get to the right spot on the defense. So if EA is able to tweak that and make pursuit a little bit better, it's going to make it much harder to run the ball, and basically it's just going to boost up the AI and make the AI play a little bit better in run defense, which could definitely make a huge adjustment. Now the second thing is going to be a way to kind of eliminate stretch or just nerf it a little bit, and it's going to make edge defenders actually play the edge. In this game, you wouldn't even know what an edge defender is because they don't actually do anything, but essentially in the NFL, an edge defender is someone who's going to be at the end of the line and they're going to try and turn a stretch play back inside. So let's say, as an example, that a team in the NFL runs a stretch play to the right side. There's going to be a defensive end on that side of the field whose assignment is to turn that play back inside. So essentially, they're going to try and get upfield and force the play back inside, which is going to make it much harder to get to the edge. And in Madden 20, when you can get to the edge running the ball, that's you can get some really big run plays. So essentially, they're going to make it much harder to run the stretch, because edge defenders hopefully are going to be playing better in next year's game. So I think those are 2 definitely pretty solid improvements, and it really just depends how insane EA makes those 2 tweaks. If they make edge defenders play crazy good and they make reactions and pursuit much better in the run defense, then I think the run game could really get nerfed, and I think EA is going to do that, because I don't think they want the run game to be as powerful as it was in this year's game. Now next up, let's talk about better QB releases and how passing can definitely become much easier in this game. Now, as a lot of you guys know, passing the ball is pretty tough because your opponent can just send 7 players at you and absolutely scream, but having better QB releases should make it easier to throw the ball under pressure, and it should make it easier to throw the ball as a defender is draped all over you, and doing so is going to make it much easier to beat the send 7 meta, because you can get the ball out much faster, and it's going to allow you to have a little bit more time to let your routes develop, because you can wait a little bit longer before you make your throw, which is going to just give you all the difference and make it so much easier to throw the ball when your opponent's blitzing you hard. So I think that's definitely a good tweak, and it's going to make it much easier to pass the ball. As you guys can kind of see, EA is trying to nerf the run game a little bit, make it a little bit easier to pass. We could be transitioning towards a little bit more of a passing meta, or hopefully more of a balanced meta. That's ideally what we want to look for, where running the ball and passing the ball are both effective and both are going to be a good way to move the ball down the field, because obviously in the NFL, teams run the ball, teams pass the ball, and hopefully if you're going to win the game, you're going to have a pretty balanced offense. So in my opinion, I think those are 2 pretty solid tweaks. I also heard that EA is going to be kind of making it a little bit easier for receivers to catch the ball and turn upfield. Right now, if you don't have grab and go, it's really tough to catch the ball and turn upfield. So those couple of tweaks right there should be helping out the passing game. Now next up, let's talk about the third gameplay change, which I think a lot of people are going to like as well, and that is zone drop. So essentially what's going to be an option as you're playing your game is in your coach adjustments menu, you're going to be able to set it so you can set the depth of how far back you want your corners to play. Now essentially what that's going to do is it's going to allow your corners to play something like a corner route, and they're going to be able to actually get a stop on that, because you can set your corners to drop back like 15 or 20 yards, and that's exactly how the depth of a corner route route's going to be, so they'll be able to play that corner route. And that's going to be a tweak you guys can do. Again, like I said, in the coach adjustments menu, I think that's definitely a W, because a lot of people get super annoyed when your opponent just runs a corner route because there's almost no zones that can stop it. But having the zone drop and the new way of kind of choosing how far back you want your zones to play should allow your zones to be able to stop whatever route your opponent's running. If they're running flat routes, you can get them to play like 5 yards or 2 yards off the line of scrimmage, or if they're throwing corner routes, you can get them to play like 15 or 20 yards back. I think that's definitely a positive thing. It's going to make it definitely a big chess match, because let's say you run a couple of corner routes and then your opponent gets the zone drops to play really far back, then you can just throw an out route underneath it. So I think it's going to become a pretty good chess match, which is definitely something we want to see. It should make it more fun when it comes to passing the ball, because there's not really going to be any routes, in my opinion, that seem to be unguardable now that you can actually choose exactly where you want your defenders to play. If your opponent's just spamming one play over and over again, you should be able to stop it by using these zone drops. Now, the final adjustment what we can see in Madden 21 is going to be a revamped user pass rush, and this isn't really going to be affecting me because I think I'm still going to be using on my linebackers. I think this revamped user pass rush is more for like casual players or people that are newer to the game, maybe people that just play offline and play with some of their friends and don't even play much. But this revamped pass rush thing, we'll see how dominant it is. Again, like I said, I think it's mainly for people that are on the defensive line and people that are kind of just playing offline and playing casually, because a lot of people that play this game don't play Mud. They just play with their friends and they're on the defensive line every single snap on defense. So this should add a little bit more depth to that position, which is definitely good. So yeah, those are the 4 gameplay tweaks. I definitely think they're all really good. I do really like the first 3, and I think they're definitely going to make the game much better. But yeah, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Again, if you have any good video ideas, leave them down below in the comment section. Like I said, I read basically every single comment. So yeah, that's going to do it for the video. Hope you guys have enjoyed. Have a great rest of your day, and I'm out. Peace.
Social